Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our final week of project number 3. Now, hopefully you've seen just in these few short weeks the value of actually, spending some time and thinking about who your user is going to be for your product and how it's especially important as you sit down at the start of a brand new project or a brand new product when you're just trying to wrap your head around what problems you might best be able to solve through your design. So I just wanted to come in this video and go over this module and some of the things you'll find inside of it, and let you go ahead and get started with your user interviews if you haven't already. Just as maybe a quick reminder, if you didn't get a chance or overlooked last Thursday's module, there's a good video in there that gives some overviews of some tips and tricks and some software and technology to use that you might find valuable as you think about sitting down for your interviews for the first time and going about recording them. So if you haven't watched that yet, pause this video, go back over to Thursday's lesson, and hopefully that's helpful and helps y'all as you get started into your interview. So let's talk about this module and what's expected as a part of this assignment. So this is all about conducting your interviews and building your summary doc. And again, if you're unfamiliar with what a summary doc might be, we're going to go through that here in this video. So it's time to put at this point all the work that you've done over the last few weeks with identifying your personas and building your test script and identifying your objectives and writing down your questions, and actually put that into practice if you haven't started conducting your interviews already. So like I said, hopefully you've started and you've got some participants lined up. But for this assignment, like we said last week, you're going to be conducting 3 interviews with people who fit your primary persona. Ideally, you would be interviewing folks who fit your primary, your secondary, your tertiary persona if you had them. We just unfortunately don't have the time in this course to do that. But I want you to focus specifically on your primary persona that you've outlined. And remember, you don't have to find the exact person who lives in that exact city that you outlined who has that exact job. Think about your personas more generally. Remember, that persona is a fictional representation of the larger audience group who makes that up. And so find people who generally fit that mold, and that'll be great for your first set of user interviews. So you'll conduct those interviews, facilitate those questions that you had outlined in your interview guide, and hopefully all that information that you're going to gain is really just going to help you craft a user-driven, user-first solution. And so also remember that if you remember back to the initial project statement for project number 3, you're really also looking to uncover 2 additional features to include in your product. Now, remember, you selected which product you wanted, genre you wanted, and I kind of gave a general goal for your first goal. But in these interviews, you're also trying to uncover 2 more, or find some common themes that would give you an idea of what 2 features or additional features you might want to include based on your users' feedback. So keep that in mind. It's not as easy as just asking the user, well, what feature would you want to have in this app? It's actually, going back through, listening to what they said, and maybe looking at themes and ideas, and then making an educated guess on your behalf as to what those additional features might be. So if you chose a money transferring app, I think there's a few people who have done that. Remember, the goal you need to include is to demonstrate the ability to connect an account. And so you'll be looking to uncover 2 additional goals. I don't know if anybody picked the transportation app. I don't think so. But if you did, your baseline goal was to demonstrate the ability to search for something nearby. And so you're looking to uncover 2 additional goals through your research with your personas. If you chose travel and tourism, I think a lot of people chose this category. You want to demonstrate the ability to build a travel plan. In addition, now in these interviews, you're trying to find 2 more. And finally, entertainment, I think, which is also another popular selection by most of y'all, is to demonstrate the ability to add content to your favorites. And you'll be looking to uncover 2 additional types of things you'd want to include in your app based on this research. So you'll be using the results of your interviews to create what I'm calling summary docs or summary recaps of each of your interviews. So I'm going to go over what that looks like here in a second, but just want to continue down through this module to kind of go over what's inside. So this is a great video. Again, another video by Career Foundry that goes maybe a little bit more in depth than you'd probably need to go into coding and documenting your feedback or your interviews, but hopefully gives you an idea of just how robust of a process user interviews and UX research really is. I think it's a quick 10-minute video worth the watch as you have already conducted your interviews and go to maybe analyze that. There's some great ideas and best practices on how they would advise to do it. Coding is a great way to do that. Again, if you're looking for themes, if you're looking for ideas, it's essentially creating tags on the thoughts and feedback that you got in your interviews, and then finding common threads throughout that. So let's jump into maybe some examples of summary docs here. I've got two that I've done in the past, and I just want to maybe provide a little tip and trick as to what that looks like. Actually, before we do that, let me jump into some of the articles that we've got listed here. So a great article by Shopify on conducting user interviews and what to look for, what to expect, and another one actually from userinterviews.com, which is a great resource on how to build a good research and reporting habit. So again, some supplementary reading that could be helpful. Let me jump into the Spotify one real quick. So this is a great article that kind of goes in depth into, conducting user interviews and might not be helpful based on the stage that you're at in this initial section of the article. But here we are then during the interview process. And one of my favorite pieces of this article is down here in step number 8. And it talks about asking follow-up questions. So as you all have in your interview guide, some great questions already laid out. Think about how you might follow up on some of the things that your user might say. And this technique that they detail here in this article is a great one to have in your back pocket. If you remember back maybe to when you were in your early teens or maybe 10, 11, 12 years old, I'm sure we all annoyed our parents by asking why too many times, because we want to know the root cause as to why they may be asking us to do the laundry or brush our teeth or whatever the scenario might be that you didn't want to do when you were a kid. The fun thing is you get to do that now as an adult, as a UX professional, when you're conducting interviews. And there's a method called the 5 whys. And it's the idea that not just being satisfied with the first answer that your user gives you. In this example, they ask the question of, why do you like this e-commerce app? And perhaps the interviewee might respond, because it offers the products I need. Well, that's kind of vague. And so you might want to dig into that a little bit more. And so the idea is that you can get to the root cause as to why they might like that e-commerce app by following up and asking why about 5 times. And at the end of that, you'll have some great information digging down to the very bottom of the root cause. And so this article is really great to kind of maybe give some tips and tricks in the interview process. And again, then it's kind of the follow-up there at the very bottom of this on maybe how to recap and after the interview about conducting a retrospective, which we've talked about, jotting your thoughts down right after you have the interview, because those thoughts are going to be fresh in your mind. You're going to have the most ability to kind of recall back what you just talked about there in those first maybe 10 to 15 minutes after the interview. And so after you conduct your interview, write down a retrospective, which is just kind of a quick couple of notes about what you thought during the process, how it went, and things like that. Structuring your information then also, so combing through that information, finding trends, finding themes, and then combining perhaps your interview with other techniques if we were doing more techniques there. So again, this is kind of a lengthy article, but might be good to skim through, especially section number 2 as it relates to during the interview, and then number 3 after the interview. Let me jump in then to the final product for this module. It's going to be essentially creating the outcome, the summary of your interview with your participants. And so I've got some examples here that I've done in the past, and let me just actually jump into Acrobat here and show you maybe what you can do as far as maybe a little tip and tricks when it comes to links. Remember, you're going to be conducting your interview. You're also required to record it in some way. That could be a Zoom or a Google Meet or a FaceTime and a voice recording, whatever you're comfortable with, whatever your participants comfortable with. And the important thing will be is to take that file and put it onto a cloud drive. So maybe that's OneDrive, which I think is provided through YSU and through your email account there as a Microsoft product, or Google Drive. You can put it there. The important thing would be is that you have a link to that so that myself, your peers in your groups, or perhaps somebody that you're sharing this with in an interview down the road could go back and kind of see your techniques and kind of listen to the interview that you conducted. And so pay attention to the requirements for this assignment, and we'll go through that here in a second. But this format is different from the format that I've got outlined for you down below, and we're going to stick with the 1920 wide by 1080 tall pixel format. Again, that kind of widescreen presentation, because this is also going to roll up into project number 3's final presentation. So while I'm showing you an 8.5 by 11 here, your version is going to be that 1920 by 1080 display there. So here's an example of one that I did a few years ago for some research on the Kroger click list app. I love Kroger. I'm not sure if Kroger's is prevalent in Northeastern Ohio. At least it wasn't last time I lived up there. I love Kroger. There's one right down the street. It's kind of our preferred shopping grocery store. I know Giant Eagle is big up in the Youngstown area. And this is just a recap, a summary document of an interview that I conducted with an individual by the name of Emily Brandt. I included her age. She fit my primary demographic that I was going to research on. I've included the video length, the date that I recorded it, some basic demographic information that would be pertinent to the research that I want to conduct, the research that I was curious about for the problem that I was trying to solve, for my objective. And one of the things that I also included here was some things that I thought would be helpful to document as far as my research goes. So, what was her shopping frequency? Was it once a week? Was it every other week? And that helps me understand the familiarity with the app itself. What was her preferred store? In this case, it was Kroger, but maybe in somebody else's case, it's Publix or it's Costco or Sam's Club. I've also highlighted some of those primary objectives that I had when I went through the interview. So I wanted to know what her primary goal was in the app itself. Now, I was working with an existing app here. Y'all are coming up with your own app, but think about different ways you might be able to highlight some of the information that you receive in that interview. These summary docs are used to serve as kind of a recap of the experience of the interview that you conducted for somebody who wasn't in the room. And so you want to have some good detail in here, but you don't want to have it overwhelming, and you want it to serve as a snapshot of your interview and what you heard based on that interview. So here I wanted to know about the primary goal on the app, their usage of the app. Were they likely to use ClickList? And what was their shopping list usage within the app? And so again, I could see that it was very likely she would use ClickList, very rare. And so if I'm coming to this and I wasn't a part of the interview itself, I can get a good idea of what the interview was like, even though I wasn't there personally. And that's the point of these recap docs. You included an interview recap, so that retrospective, that summary of the interview itself, and then a pull quote. Those pull quotes are always great. Whatever they said that you think just encapsulates the interview itself and kind of serves as a great summary in and of itself with that interview, that pull quote there. Now, one of the ways you can link out to a video, link out to your video file, instead of having to include that long, nasty URL on the file itself, which visually I know isn't that appealing, I've just created a quick button on here to say watch video. And let me show you what I did to actually make that clickable when I share this out with somebody. So I'm in Adobe Acrobat. I've pulled up my PDF, so my 3-page PDF. You can see I've got my 3 personas here, 3 interviews that I've conducted. And let me just show you how I've made this button actionable. You can see my cursor changes to the pointer, the finger there itself. So let me go here and click on Edit. I'm in this edit mode here. You can see on the right-hand panel, this is Adobe Acrobat. You can also go up to Tools and you can hit Edit PDF and it'll do the same thing. Once you're here, you'll have a link option. And again, this is if you're using Adobe Acrobat. You might not be using that, and so you might want to just do some research depending on your preferred PDF generator as to how to best do that. I'm assuming since everybody has access to Adobe Creative Cloud through YSU, Acrobat is a part of that, and so you could download Acrobat if you haven't, should be able to download Acrobat if you haven't already. You can add or edit a document link, and that's what I've chosen here. So let me just click on that. You can see I've already got a border here. I'm just going to delete that because I've already got it activated. I want to walk through and show you what I've done. So I've got link here, add or edit. I'm just going to draw a box over this watch video button. And here, you can choose different kind of visual treatments that you want. I kind of want an invisible rectangle, and I want the link action to go to a page, open a file, or open a web page, or a custom link. I want it to open a web page where I've got my file stored. I'm going to hit next. I can just copy and paste that URL in there. Here I've got it from Google Drive, and I'm just generating a share link from Google Drive. I hit OK, and now when I go back to this PDF, I can hit watch video. It's going to open it up, and now the video of Emily is there. Excuse the terrible mustache that I have back in 2017. But you can see I've got my video of Emily and myself conducting the interview and learning about what her experience is for the Kroger app. So hopefully that was helpful. I just wanted to maybe provide a quick tip or trick on how to maybe make it more visually appealing on these user interview documents, knowing that you have to include a link to your interview itself and not having to do just the long form URL, which can be pretty nasty and not appealing on there. So if you want to do something like that, hopefully it's a helpful tip and trick on how to maybe use a button within your PDF and creating that share link there as well. I had just created these in Adobe XD. When I did them, I exported them as JPEGs and then combined them into a file. So whatever your preferred method is going to be, I just wanted to maybe provide a quick tip on how to generate maybe a more appealing button to your actual video or your actual audio file there in the cloud. All right, let me just jump down in here and go over the actual instructions for this assignment. So it's due, your first post is due Thursday evening, 4/8 at 11:59 p.m. It's going to be a PDF. It's going to be 3 pages as a part of that PDF. And again, remember your page size is going to be that 1920 by 1080 tall. The reason why we stick to that size in some of these milestones like this is that you're going to want to include it again in project number 3's final, and so that just makes it more helpful, more easy for you hopefully when you go to create that project number 3 final. Your file name is going to be project 3 _ interview summary _ initials. So my example would be project 3 interview summary RSF. So you're going to conduct those interviews and begin digesting what you heard, and then creating that easy to understand summary document like we just walked through. It's enough information so that if somebody wasn't there, like all of your peers in your peer groups here and myself, it gives us an idea of what you found out, what you heard in your interviews themselves. So it just gives people who weren't in the room an idea of the discussion that was had. So your first post is due 11:59 p.m. On Thursday evening. Conduct and record 3 interviews, approximately 10 minutes each, with the candidates who fit your primary persona. After you've conducted that, you can listen to your own recording, find those patterns, find those trends, find the information you'd want to highlight for each of the three interviews. Recap those interviews into a condensed 1-page summary document for each interview, totaling a 3-page PDF. Your summary document should include, at minimum, the interview details, like the date when it was recorded, the length of the interview, a link to the recording, the participant's name, their demographic information, a pull quote, that interview summary, and then any data that's relevant to your objective. So everybody's objectives are different. The questions y'all are asking are different. The information you're seeking to find is different. So whatever is relevant to your objectives that you want to pull out as maybe additional highlights of that interview, then do that on this 1-pager for each of those interviews. Any additional information also that you'd like to include you think is relevant on a takeaway document. Remember, you don't want to replicate the entire interview, so it shouldn't be a verbatim, here's everything that I asked, here's every answer they gave. you want to summarize it and give somebody the gist of what happened, just enough information to know, what was said and how that interview went. You'll include that 3-page PDF along with 200 to 300 words discussing your experience conducting your interviews for the first time. So that's post number 1. Post number 2 is then followed up on that Sunday evening like we have for the entirety of the course. You're going to review the summary documents in your group and provide any thoughts or takeaways of your own based off of those interviews that they conducted. You're not required to watch all the videos. If you certainly want to watch your peers' interviews to maybe learn about how they conducted it, then by all means go for that. But what I'm looking for is maybe just a 200-word evaluation of each of your members on what you found interesting or what you learned based off of their interview summary. So again, you're kind of acting as the consumer then of their summary. So you weren't in the room. What did you take away from each of their from their interviews themselves? So hopefully this was helpful. I just wanted to go over maybe what's found in this module, a little different than that. Didn't create a presentation for this because I want you to get into your interviews as quickly as possible, into your summary docs. And again, we've covered a lot over last week as it relates to crafting your interview guide. And now it's time just to do it and execute it and go through those interviews. And hopefully you found this helpful as an overview as to what's required for this module and what you'll be doing for your summary, your recap document. So remember, a 3-page PDF, 1 page for each of your interviews, recapping it with a discussion post about your interviewing for the first time, how that went for you, kind of your takeaways there. And I'm looking forward to seeing what you've done. I'm really excited about it. I'm glad you get the chance to do that. And I can't wait to see your summary guides. All right. Thanks, everybody. Hopefully you have a good evening. Thanks.